Thank you, Mr Speaker. My question is for the Minister for Climate Change and Energy. I refer to Labor's new family car and ute tax. In my home state of WA in 2023, 79.8% of sales were either SUVs or light commercial vehicles and utes. Top-selling cars are Toyota Hilux, Ford Ranger and the Isuzu D-Max. Industry analysis shows that they would attract penalties of around $14,000, $17,000 and $13,000 respectively. Why does this Labor government want to punish Aussie families and tradies for their choices?
Call to the Minister for Climate Change and Energy.
Well, thanks, Mr Speaker. I don't think the House will be surprised to learn that constituents in the honourable member for Durac's electorate drive particularly long distances. The average constituent of the member for Durack drives 23,154 kilometres a year, Mr Speaker, and would save $1,841 a year by having more efficient vehicles from 2028 onwards, Mr Speaker. The member refers to Western Australia. Perhaps that is why, perhaps those sorts of savings is why, the RACWA, the peak motoring group in Western Australia that actually represents the interests of motorists, drivers, consumers, called for the government to, and I quote, introduce an impactful mandatory fuel efficiency standard aligning Australia with the rest of the developed world as a top priority. RACWA called on us to introduce an impactful mandatory fuel efficiency standard aligning Australia with the rest of the developed world as a top priority. That's exactly what we're doing. Aligning Australia with the rest of the developed world to give Australians the same access to fuel-efficient vehicles that those in the United States have, that those in Europe have, in New Zealand have, in China have, in India have. The only people who don't have access to those fuel-efficient vehicles as a matter of government policy are the motorists of Australia and Russia, Mr Speaker. The Leader of the Opposition knows that and he says, yet. No, we're not having that, Mr Speaker. Yet, we're not having that. We are going to stick out there with Russia as the only developed major economy without access to fuel efficiency standards. Well, that's not good enough as far as we're concerned. It might be good enough for the Leader of the Opposition, who has no plan for motorists to get access to more efficient vehicles, no plans of his own, despite the fact that, to their credit, the members for Bradfield and the then member for Kooyong tried to implement this policy in 2017, went to the then Shadow Minister for Transport, who is now the Prime Minister of Australia, and said, look, this is going to be controversial. Will we have opposition support? And the then Shadow Minister for Transport said, yes, you will. Yes, you will, because it's good policy. And we will back good policy, because that's what leadership looks like. That's what leadership looks like, Mr Speaker. Seeing a good idea that might not be your idea and backing it. That's what the now Prime Minister did. And he is now the Prime Minister of Australia. The current Leader of the Opposition isn't doing that. Perhaps that's why he won't be Prime Minister of Australia.